gas pedal on time. All right. Good morning. Good morning. What's up, y'all? El Padrino. Hell yeah. Ass says, look at Tizu. That's a crazy name, man. Not the double ass. Interesting. Yes, Amazon soon. Yes.
That's the only thing, brother, about life.
What?
Time, man. I don't know where the time's going. It's too fast or something.
Dude,
Spend half
it,
our days sleeping.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I'm on point with sleep deprivation, so I'm not. I mean, yeah, dude, it is, and I know, I think it has a lot to do with perception. Like when you're young, everything is new. You're learning constantly, whether you like it or not, and then you kind of your reality like is observed. You have like a regular scheduled programming, and I feel like that's when shit hits the gas pedal. You know what I mean? Because it's like repetitious. We're, repeating, or there's not a lot of new, maybe obviously with the internet and the phone, but that's what sucks us in. I'll scroll, dude. I Last night I was like 9:30, the kids were in bed. I was like, hell yeah. I sat down to play Fallout for an hour. I looked over 11:45. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, no way, dude. I hardly did anything. So real quick, SS, you you gapped up directly to the first green candle to your left. I would assume that you might be looking at a 638 retest. If that retest resulted in which it looks like the bid is already dropped there. If it does retest, you would want to see a bounce. The next target would be 680, but that is a successful target hit. Meet Barn. I miss you, dude. I'm on Fortnite every once in a while with the kids, dude. Slide through. See, you've been in the launcher for about 200 years. I miss you too, man. That's my boy. How much money did I lose shorting the queues? Uh, we traded him up. I don't know what you're talking about. I had, again, I think that's where people missed. I have a short theory uh, that I shorted it here, right? When it dropped under the wicks, candle close, shorted all the way down, shorted it here. And then inside of this range, I had no bias until we got a candle close. We had 3 taps on. Yeah, I'm remembering it all now. Yeah, candle 609 got tapped. There was a box directly up in front of us to go and punch. Yeah. Oh, my long term. If you said it might go to 588. Everything that I do, Phoenix, is always going to be based off of triggers. You know what I mean? Uh, so I might even have a short bias. I might feel like, yo, this feels heavy, uh, which that's not what you want to see when you're up here, baby. And we got to talk about this because I got some things I want to say, and some positions that might need exiting if the keys follow through. So let's go ahead and take a look at the market here. If you guys are on TikTok, be sure to tap your screen. But so let's again checklist, step by step, right? What are we doing today? Now, when we have, right, more than 1 or 2 wicks off of the exact same, uh we're gonna help you, Kristen, excuse me, on those charts. I'll talk to you in just a second about those. I can see you're seeing it. We need to help you find the borders of that. But good start, and I like that you're posting your stuff regardless. So uh, yeah, exactly. So you got yes, I do. Now point A, right, is 617.50. We discussed this last night, and I wanted to get as close as possible or be above it in order for us to see the blue skies that we're destined to see. So first off, right, we are under resistance. Okay. Second, we got a gap. Obviously, if we run up first, hit 617.50, I think we're going to come back down, especially if it happens very quickly. Now we will again look for that 614.88 on that candle close, the 24-hour, but more importantly, right? Let's actually go back to the 4-hour, right? So step by step, right here, where those candles close over here to my left, that splits this little weird range in half. And I usually know what that means. That means somewhere down here, we're going to be building. Ah. Now, uh, who? I do? No, I do not. Get the hell out of here, Yaz. Geeks. That's crazy. Um, but anyway, he's texting me right now. Get out of here, dude. So anyway, we're opening up in between that 650, and funny enough, folks, you might look at this and say, "Well, Potter, where the hell is this rejecting at, or where have we hit?" If you remember correctly, on the 15-minute, remember this little guy? That is exactly what we have gone up and tried to reclaim. So we know, right? How or where. Listen, this is the important part of today. Oh, fuck. I keep forgetting YouTube, dude. They're like my. No, I did. I'm streaming on YouTube, right? Oh, it doesn't have auto start on. Hold on. Hold on a second. Oh, my bad, my bad. All right, well, hold on. This is the important part for real, for real. Because this is where we get continuation. So I'm going to give you two scenarios here this morning, again, because we're opening up in a range. We don't need to pick up. I mean, we're bullish in technical chart, but because of the gap down below, this is how things might build today. So first of all, if again at the bell we immediately run up, hold on one second. Jesus Christ. Hello? Hey, what's up? Yeah, wintergreen and anything minty and 12 milligram. That's the one. All right. Thank you. I did answer that phone a little sassy there. That was my bad. Um, yeah, hold on one second. So anyway, I would be looking at a first impulse move up to 618.50, and at that point, that's where we might see price fall back down. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we come back down to, and I'm not saying all the way to 611, but at least or at minimum, right, 50% of that, which actually that's right around where I'm talking about. So, um, this is a difficult situation, right? We're gapping up where we need to go. It's not difficult. It's just going to take some patience and letting price build. If you have calls, I would be looking to reduce my risk at 618, and then uh, Velo tropical heat is fire. Damn, we got a lot of that's crazy. What's my honest thoughts on technical analysis? I mean, I created my own strategy. I don't use any patterns. I don't use anything on Google that you can Google. I mean, I guess you can now because I'm on AI now, so I am. But no, I think that it front runs all the news, everything else. But I do think one of the biggest conspiracy theories that'll probably, I mean, like, I think this is like actually big deal. The fact that they only show people the daily time frame. If you're doing analysis on the daily, you're charting half of price, and that makes no fucking sense. So yeah, I do, and I know this is a wild claim, but I think that most people's analysis that starts on without after hours data is wrong. And I think that's actually one of the leading causes for people to not see the market as it is. I was not able to refine and build this system into what it is until I started using the 24-hour period, point blank in the story. So yeah, I think we're doing something here. All right, now we can refine this down a little bit further. Pre-market 617 is going to be a resistance that you do not want to fall under. So if price does, like I said, pop up and pull back, that'll be where you know it is highly probable for us to punch back down and fill that gap, right? With the wicks at 613.88. All right. I have no idea about that, dude. Go down the week. Go down what week? Google Trends. I've noticed that stocks are trending hours before open. I mean, send me what you got, dude. I'll take a look at it. Yeah, that could be interesting. If stocks start trending, but I mean, I think that's what StockTwits does as well. So, all right, let's take a look at IWM. So again, Q's last cover here, directly to our left. Price is still trapped underneath the 617.50. Right? Period. End of story. That is where we're stuck. And we have a gap down below us. So a little bit of chop and move or shimmy shake. And that empty space on the lower time frame that we've been eyeballing all the way in here, obviously, is what we're looking for today. So, all right, today and tomorrow. IWM. Now, I thought we might see a little bit of a pop, but it's all scrunched up for the pop. I love IWM. I think today could be a pretty interesting day. It's still fucking in range, so light risk, right? That's one of the rules that I have typically is if I am trading in range, I'm trading with half of the risk that I normally do. You might see a 24-hour setup, which, again, if that has empty space, we don't have that right now. But I just want to remind everybody, those of you guys who are watching on TikTok, by the way, if you guys are on TikTok, tap your screen. This is the bigger move. This break, I mean, and IWM has not stayed in a range like this in quite a long time. So yeah, something to think about here. Moving back down to the 24-hour, though, we talked about a target of around 267.50 today on the break, and it's kind of nice that we have the ability to track this, but it is over 265.70 that we'd be looking for a first intraday target of 266.17. I want to see price I'd like to see price move pretty fluidly through that, and that's where I would be looking at that overhead 267.50 and 267.80. So, what's my honest thoughts on selling options versus buying? Also, do I want to? Do I want to? Do you want to sell options? I mean, if I think it's more of a tool rather than like a whole strategy in itself. Um, uh, my system can work for spotting future areas of consolidation. Um, yeah, for the most part. But and then buying and selling options is obviously my forte, so I'm going to have a bias there. But I believe that if done on higher time frames and not necessarily every single day, but looking to capture the waves or the contraction and expansion that the market cyclically allows us to spot and trade, which we're experiencing now on a couple of different things. That's where I think that if you have a really good system, obviously buying options with low risk is a great way to make money. But there are people who have a lot of equity that are able to take advantage of selling. So yeah, thank you guys for tapping the screen. All right, so in order to get this done, or in order for us to get up, because we do have some holes in the ship. And again, today is a day where I am curious. Did they set us up for a potential rejection? Do we have empty space underneath us? Yes, we do. So I want to see. I know what it looks like to close inside of empty space and build and with volume. And if I don't see that today, it's going to be a little weird. But anyway, that being said, on IWM here this morning, going down to the 15-minute, the boxes that I drew yesterday, and that 264.37 would be a level that I'd be looking for a pullback. And underneath, and this is where, again, attention to detail. That's what we had to break to get here. I believe if we break that, we should be moving back to that 260, 277, which could set off a little bit of a wider pullback. So this one, if I'm being honest, does not have the greatest setup. It does have the tension. It is in an area of contention. And so I think with IWM today, you know, if you have low risk on it, totally fine. We love the fact that it has as much tension as it does. And I know that when it does start moving, it's likely not going to stop. And I'm referring to the weekly range. So it's an important thing to be observing. But let's move on to SPY. That shit's gonna hit $0. My dad, the CEO, he's gonna rug pull you. Can you ask him for like just an extra week, please, Billy? Tell your dad that yeah, really actually I have nothing to offer him, you know. Please don't rug pull us, sir. All right. So let's talk about SPY here. It's got an interesting volume over here to the left. So again, with yesterday's strong close and pull up, which I did, Nvidia was. I'm glad that that was an easy bullet to dodge, for sure. But with SPY, I told you guys yesterday, I'm not a huge fan of anything on the higher time frame, and the only thing that I can really quantify here is if you get this, you get that, right? And that's okay because on the lower time frames, or higher time frames, I want to simplify things. This is currently the box that we're going to be trying to push through with this 4-hour candle. Your pre-market or high of yesterday's high of 695.25 is where you would be looking for that 670, 697.27. But that is a great distance away from us, and obviously you don't want to buy inflated contracts. This is what we're currently set up like, and that is the precursor to potential chop. Typically, when I open in between a wide fluctuation in price, that is where we see consolidation typically begin. How do we find this out, right? We can actually move down into even lower time frames. Again, this is top-down analysis. This is how we problem solve. Is there structure? Yes, there is. So if there's a signal, right, we can idolize or utilize it, idolize it. I mean, if that's your cup of tea. Okay, so again, SPY, not my thing. IWM of interest because of where it's at. I mean, really, it had a shitty gap up. It didn't cross or close outside of that 265. So there is reason to believe that sellers are still in control. If buyers can, again, you did gap up in their face after hitting it yesterday. So if we can pop over that, the target is pretty straightforward. And IWM is cheap, low risk. So pay attention to that one if you have. And really quickly, if you're watching me for the first time and you do trade options, one of the cheapest, highest risk to reward or lowest risk to reward is IWM as far as an ETF. One of our favorite. So what is the significance of a gap? Bull flag, it's going up. Is that rage bait? I think he's rage baiting. All right. Hold on. Espresso tonic break. Meat Barn. Dude, I got this espresso machine in the office, man. Ugh. I've almost had multiple heart attacks in here. All right. So let's talk about NVIDIA because I know I'm going to get about 9 million questions, but what did we expect? Big fat cap, right? Everybody's talking about it. Temptation, temptation, temptation. The risk to reward, right? On the contracts, it was all the way, the money was, listen, strike prices were inflated all the way out here. Funny. So here's the real deal, right? On the 4-hour, and this is just money, dude. It's so cool. You know, this is the target that I called out yesterday. Again, who cares? I didn't make any money off of it, but you know, little ego there. 202, right? 202.25, that was the floor. And then the resistance or overhead resistance that we were going to have to be above this morning is exactly what you're not above. So you're going to have to work for it. And that's going to be rebounding either off of 193.50, right? But until you reclaim NVIDIA's 202.50 floor, you have no chance. And it's going to be 207 if you do. But man, they clobbered your asses. And I'm going to be honest with you, it might be of interest in there for them to keep this thing contained in between these two spaces yet again. So hopefully if you did take NVIDIA, you did it with low risk. I don't know how you did that, but and let me maybe bought one contract and you got a good setup. But yeah, hopefully we were able to avoid the temptation of something that's risk to reward is skewed. I want to just point something out too. When I take an options trade and the volume on those contracts is not high, what does that tell me? That not a lot of people are playing it. But with it, which means I don't have to worry about that IV crush as much. So when I see overinflated contracts, I already know it's going to be a competition to get out. I'm not going to put myself in these scenarios and they're just for some big move that I don't even see on the chart. So I digress. All right, now
It's the same thing with snow.
Yeah, yeah.
I use that as
Here.
experiment, and I learned a big lesson as to why you don't take those plays like that. And I was like, now I understand why Potter doesn't do it.
Yep.
BA.
Ugh. Give me nightmares.
$2,000.
Crazy, man.
Never again.
Best stock to
Oh, I
buy a
think I learned
contract
my
in
lesson
today.
yesterday.
You said
Why'd you even pull up BA?
I don't know, impulsively. All right. How do I know much? You can see the volume on the contract, so you can see how much that price is increased in value or the IV on it. So, all right. If you have anything you would like for me to take a look at, please. And by the way, if you're on TikTok and you want to make sure that your request has a higher probability of getting taken, I would drop it on YouTube, which it's pottertalkstrading.com. All right. I have shares of DNUT. Now, and we'll go ahead and look at that first, I guess. Very good, but also very bad because we're not even there yet. But oh my God. So one of my favorite things about and not favorite because I play it, but one of my favorite things about people who look at and I'm for once going to draw trend lines, but I'm going to do it a terrible job. I'm an artist. Right? One of my favorite things about these patterns is they're bilateral. But not only are they bilateral, which is just a way to make me sound smart, but it just means they can go both ways. That's all. But that's all it means. Now, what people typically disregard in these setups is that there's still a fucking floor. There's still something that you're gonna have to go and lose. So DNUT having all of that empty space and hitting a major floor over here to your left, and having a catalyst after being driven down for a month or two. So if you do have, or you are looking at DNUT, you could be looking at the $4 target. Now, ultimately, what I would really like to see here, if you are looking at DNUT, we're looking for at least 50%. And it's not a box, but I'd like to see 50%, which I think we are. Yeah, we're technically above that right now, but I want to close there. So, all right. Go ahead and drop your request. Let me know which way, which direction, up, down, all around. What are you doing? Yes, I just covered in a video. Al is everybody's Poppy. He is Poppy, yeah. He is Jerome Powell. Could you look at BYND and AMC? Oh my God, brother, what are you making me do today? Nah, this thing does get over, as you can see, they run out of shares to short on this motherfucking thing as it goes to more than likely pink sheets. And so you'll see these big liquidity pops. Yo, somebody should make a, never mind. That was a terrible one. Decent gap. Unity software? I haven't looked at that one yet, but all right. So let's again go down the watch, the checklist here. Does it have empty space? Yeah. Does it have consolidation? Also, yeah. or does it need a break? It looks like it's obviously 82.21. The first green floor or green candle that I see is actually here at 85.46. And then the second target would be only 90 cents. Now, because it does go on its occasional squeeze out, you could be looking for more. However, that would probably be somewhere around that $1.15 mark. Um, but yeah, I again, in the most recent price action and looking at it here, I think that would be your target. Pop here, get that. So, all right, now moving on. I'm trading silver futures. So I wait to $84 an ounce. What is silver futures? I don't trade futures, so I always forget the silver future. What is silver futures?
SI.
SI? That's right. Yeah, that's right. Man. Ooh, baby, you're gonna die. Damn, that's temptation right there. That actually looks kind of like a good short. Let me explain myself. Now you're in a place where that's, you know, only a proposition. I'm not going to give it a box, but I will say this, it's just too irregular. Whatever structure here, which is guarding price, and there is empty space and a highly likely retest back up here, but that's a delicious short whenever the time arises. And I think what it would likely do is, you know, potentially, hold on. I'm going to do something here to try to spot this trend. Nope, that's not going to work. Somewhere in here is control, but I don't have enough points of contact to establish it. And I also don't have enough off of this wick to really start it. So with that being said, right now, I would actually be paying attention more or less. Damn, where'd you go? I haven't had a Zen in 9 hours. Fuck yeah. I'm using it to read Dolly Varden. Well, here's the deal. Check this out. That floor, which is pretty hot actually. That floor, that's 88, right? Pop up there and you'll get 89. What is that? Yeah, 89, right at the 50% mark. 89.21. Looks like you got a little channel here at play as well. So you might be looking at a couple more dips, but you're extracting a lot of volume off of this shelf. So eventually, if you do pop up and then fail and come back down, that could be a really good short on a higher time frame. But all right, what else do we got here, guys? Let's see if we can't find us a good one. AMC has high short interest. Now that right there is what it looks like when a stock doesn't have volume. That doesn't mean also, I'm not even, I've told you guys this before, and every time I see a barcode chart, this is one of the things that, whether it's computers trading back and forth to each other, this actually revealed, and I never get a chance to explain this shit. This is actually what revealed one of the things that revealed cost basis to me, or revealed to me that when retail is gone, that's literally the skeleton of my box. If I said that in public without any context, it would be weird. But here, hopefully, it makes sense. Seriously, honestly, even looking at it today, it still blows my mind how every area, perfect points, and it's always the 50% mark that has pull. So check that out if you ever have time. 24-hour time frame though. High short interest, and what is this, all-time lows? Obviously, you know, man, I really cannot help you with something like that. It's going to be because what am I bouncing that off of? And typically I don't want to necessarily just bounce something off of nothingness, right? And I mean, you could use something like 115, but it's typically on a reclaim of something, or pushing over something that is under seller's control. And for me, that would be 121. And that's where maybe you could start it. But obviously something like this that's trading with no volume would need volume. and a quick change in volume in order to get it on the radar, get people talking about it, and then get volume into it. So, I mean, that's something that you would have to kind of be watching often. Yes. Hello. You want that? You know, what if I said you had to come and get it? And that means you have to walk on street. Rusty's wife did it. Yeah, you're right. I want people to question whether you're even real or not. That's where I want. Yeah, it's AI. All right.
Yo, they got a Tesla robot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. All right, let's speed this up. Let's see here. Kava ripped. Am I going to be looking to short it? I have no. So I mean, nah. Hold on. Let me let me think about this. So maybe I am somebody who like and it reminds me of Nike. Okay, uh, I think I got a similar question in this area. Okay, when Price has these that is actually a common instinct from traders is to try to short something that they believe has ripped in an unsustainable fashion. And this often gives price will end up going into a tailspin as you have buyers chasing and sellers trying to push it back down, and sideways action typically occurs. So if that was the case, or if that was something that I really wanted to do, right, what is one of the rules? If we grab onto something, we really don't want to lose it. And that would be the bottom of this structure. And sure, at that point, you could look for that to the downside. Now, maybe you could wait on that so that way I could take profit on my last contract, which is up like 600% right now. But she said, I ain't Rusty's wife. She did, damn right she did. All right, so Netflix. All right, Brother John. I would just change your name to Brother John, dude. No parentheses. Okay, so not a big fan of that, right? Not a big fan of that. Tapping on now again, what do you have to lose? So let's get rid of all of this, which there's literally one box. I'm talking about like there's a bunch of shit. All right, John, check it out, right? That is going to be your bounce level. This is your overhead rejection level. This is also, and I see this gap up and then fall back down, but what I'm going to do is really focus on this. Oh, you know what? Shut your mouth. Is it right? Okay, I'm going to find out what that is. Hold on 1 second. If I see cost basis or that, then I'm going to assume that I was wrong. Okay, that's what I'm going to encapsulate. Now, I'm going to explain why I'm encapsulating it. Is this a box? Not really. Is that? Nope. Is this range where you tap a high, bounce off a low, and then stop at that same, so 2 off the top, 1 off the bottom? Yes. So I'm going to utilize that as not a box, but a old range, which has created a skeleton, if you will. All right, so the deal is you're going to need to pull back, probably retest off of 8250. You want to do this as quickly as possible. On the 15-minute, you have actually kind of a kick-ass little structure you're sitting on right here. And so if you could basically get outside of that 8344, you have a pretty solid retest at 8387 here. And then that box, which is also in confluence with the higher time frame 8250, that is where you would be looking for this last trigger to fire. And that's that. Well, you wouldn't be looking for it, but you'd be looking to stop out. Anybody going short, you could utilize the structure and boxes that I just gave you and do with it what you will. So that's what you're going to need for continuation, Brother John. All right, Microsoft, let me know which direction. If you dropped a request, I need to know up, down, all around. Where we going? Sometimes when I see somebody comment Lily, bro, it looks like I love you, bro. Like out of the corner of my eye. I was about to say I love you too, Phoenix. It's crazy. All right. Now, Microsoft, and I know that there's going to be a couple of you guys probably watching this one today. The answer is obvious, right? And this is basically Hood. This is a lot of different setups mirror this one. Obviously, we need cooperation from the queues, right? It's going to be really, really important. But 404, 92 is that overhead resistance ahead of us. This morning, getting rid of all of this, or at least that, right? This is going to be the range underneath you, and unfortunately, there is a gap. That gap fill may lead you to the floor or the support that has held you up before at 395. So honestly, this could be a situation that you would like to see price just build and break overhead to 404.50. But this is setting up potentially for a much bigger swing trade all the way to 412. So it looks good. Exact clone of your account and videos. He's asking for money, so be careful of scammers. Yes, guys, I will never DM you. I will never, none of that. Please don't answer any DMs. Honestly, waste their time. You know, have a joke. Tell them, you know, get out all of your rage or something. All right, I think we have had too much espresso. Too much. Kava revenue. Mike, yeah, we got that one. RGTI up if it holds this 1840-ish, has some work to get through it. 1977. Okay. They see anything here? I think I had a target of 1926. I did, yes. You hit 19. You're going red right now. Okay. I know we were talking about a potential channel here as well. And that still gives that target and potentially 1981. So, I mean, you might, again, if you go for a gap fill, it just needs to be really, really quick. For those who are late, he said swing trade Microsoft. That is not what I said. I said it's setting up for a good swing. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. You'll know when I like something. You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. All right. So I'm not really seeing much of anything other than here on the 5, where I can see very clearly that tiny little red candle right here, 1824, you're bouncing off of. In order to get this thing moving in the right direction, you're going to need to move over 1867, and it's a punch through the 1887 area. So, all right, let's see. NOW out. Is this a potential 2-hour punchback? Newer to this. So 24-hour rules, right? You do have 3 major bounces off of the bottom, so first service now. One could probably conclude that if you break this 108, you're pretty much going to go to 112. That's pretty straightforward. And that's your next hurdle. Now, on the 2-hour, what you said may be true. Let's take a look. So again, we're focused on the most recent price action. On the 4, I just see structure here. I know there's likely going to be a box. All right. Now I can get rid of what I just drew on the higher time frame, and I can focus here. How did I find the floor? Green candle, wick. That's my floor. That's my overhead. That's my cost basis 107.44. And at that point, honestly, this is a good setup. It's a good setup. It's a good setup. This is where sellers have fought. This is where price should be set free. That's a good setup. That's a really good setup. My focus with any shorter expiration contracts over 108 would be focused on 112 strikes more than likely, and then longer expiration or maybe a week or two, 116 could be a secondary target there as well. So not bad. Ooh. MP both ways earnings today. Okay, so first thing that we do when we look at earnings is we just go and look and say, or see, does it move? Dump and rip. So, I mean, you would have gotten your ass fried if you didn't pick both directions. This one, continuation trade, but nothing crazy. This, nothing, 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 nothing. So already this gets a fucking D in terms of movement on earnings. That's hot dog water. Trend and channel, we got that. But otherwise, I don't know, man. It's not a great, not anything adherent to what I like to see, but I would say that you have a 62.36 overhead and then a target to the downside potentially at $50. I mean, honestly, this looks like it, you know, that would be a reasonable target to the upside or to the downside, excuse me, seeing that it has nothing but empty space underneath you. So, you know, I would say probably around $50. Again, and I want everybody to there are going to be charts that don't make sense to me because I have a strategy and a particular thing that I'm looking for. So when you ask me for chart analysis on, and again, I know this is for earnings, so it's perfectly reasonable to ask me. And that's why I'm telling you, right? Something like this just does not offer much. And what I don't want to do, folks, is I don't want to go through like a series of, well, this has to happen, and then this has to happen, and then this has to happen. I want it to be one thing away. One everything has got to and even some of the most successful traders in the world will tell you simplify, simplify. And so you know, again on this, something like again, this is the reason why I chose Kava, right, for an earnings trade. So Kava, that's a Potter box, perfect setup. MP makes me want to dive into a blender. All right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's what you should expect from me anyway, because again, I have a particular strategy. I found an anomaly, and that doesn't always occur on every stock. I mean, it does occur. It's literally market structure, but it's, you know, there's something like that would draw me into the lower time frames, and that's going to be a mess. So, does that have earnings? That had earnings and didn't move. Ooh, this could be. Yeah, you know what? It makes a whole lot of sense as to why you would be why you'd be looking at this. 3 wicks. So you're looking for an entry over 1906 with the first target being 1989, which I'm gonna be honest with you is kind of ass. But it is straightforward. So KView is merging with KMB. Yeah, again, I focus on the chart. The chart says maybe $20, but it's gonna be over 1908. So, all right, 10 minutes. When's the last time you had a dump like this? Never. You had one like this, but how long did you have to chop in order to get there? Right? A long time. So that's typically what I look for first, and that's going to be something, you know, as I can establish that as a pretty straightforward rule of mine. Is I want to take a trade out of structure. With that being said, you have all the makings to potentially consolidate with empty space down to your floor, a lack of structure under your floor. So anywhere under 47, 42, you're back down. And then above you, right, if somehow I'm wrong, it would be that 53.31 and a break outside of 56 that would possibly give you what you're looking for. And at that point, I'd be looking at a $63 target. All right, let's see here. AMD calls today. Ooh, okay, starting with the 24-hour, right? not great. And again, when I take when I take an upside trade, right, if I was to take anything in here, like let's say I decide, and this would be a perfectly reasonable bounce level, if I decide to take 204.90s, right, that might work out. But the reality is we are slap stuck down at 216. And what I want to trade, right, is continuation. And I know that if AMD is able to accomplish a candle close in this area, that we would be looking at pretty fire targets of 231 all the way up to the upside. And that would be the kind of trade that I'd be looking to capture. You do have an uptrend here. And I've stayed away from my AMD because basically anything under here, and not only just under here, but under there, right? So 212.60 and 214.62 are areas that would need to be reclaimed in order to see continuation to the upside. You also have a pocket, or if any loss of 205 happens, you might be looking at a pullback to 199.72 here as well. All right. Goodbye. All right. I see everybody talking about Hood, so let's talk about it. And yes, it still looks great. Obviously, we needed to see a break over $78. That is exactly what we want, or what we need. In terms of what we are sitting on right now, I believe this old box, right? Because there's really nothing but empty space above you. But the reality is, folks, yeah, there we go. All right. So here's the deal, guys. We need a punch over 77.39. And this is a extremely formidable 3 times off the top $78 break that we're looking for. On the 30-minute time frame, right, we'd be looking first at a target of 78, 73, and 79. Now, that's not what we're looking for here, right? That's not the whole enchilada. The whole enchilada is actually over 79.50, right? And that's where we're looking at a 24-hour setup inside of this range back up to the top. And it's a good setup. It's a good setup. However, this is the 3rd time here, and if we fail, we're not going. So yeah, I mean, there's more. Listen, Hood has a kick-ass. I mean, this could be an equity play. This could be an equity play for if you're just buying shares. This could for sure. But I just want to remind everybody, we're bouncing off of this piss box, if you will, that we already have punched over, and it's really underneath us at 67. So if we did see a rejection where we're at right here off the 50% mark of the entire range and then drop, you know, it's still, that's fair play. So all right, it's 9:28. Today, once everything dies down, I got some prep to do for the workshop, so I'll be getting out of here. But those of you guys on TikTok and YouTube, I'll see you guys at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Watch for that. Again, go back and watch this on YouTube, but I'll see you guys in a little bit.